So, hello everyone. My name is Todd Brian Backus. I'm the literary manager here at Portland Stage. And today I'm joined by the star of Donnetta Lavinia Gray's Is Where We Stand, Tracy Conyer Lee, who was most recently with us in the 17-18 season for Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, where she played Billie Holiday. And then we also have joining us today Macie Downs, the assistant director and dramaturg of Where We Stand. So, Tracy, can you talk a little bit about where you're from originally, where you're based out of now, and what your first acting gig was, whatever that means for you?
Sure. I was born in West Philadelphia. On the playground is where I spent most of my days. Just kidding. But my family moved to Wilmington, Delaware when I was very young, and that's where I was raised. Don't be jealous. Um, Biden country. I'm just going to say it. Anyway, I have been living in New York since 1993, the end of 93, beginning of 94. And that's where I am now. And in the fifth grade, I played Madam Z in The Unhappy Bunny.
That's incredible. I was in third or fourth grade a butterfly in the Three Billy Goats Gruff.
Oh, the
I
Billy
was also
Goats.
in the Three Billy Ghost Gruff. I was a cheerleader in second
Oh,
grade.
I don't remember us performing it at school, but I do remember us performing it at a chocolate festival that I don't remember ever existing again during my childhood.
I'm so jealous.
There were a
That's a
lot of
great
chocolate
place to
sculptures.
perform
That's
as
all
a
I
kid.
remember. Yeah, it was great. And then Macie, can you talk to us a little bit about you're from and when you knew you wanted to direct?
Yeah, I'm from Bodenham, Maine, so not too far away. And I didn't really know, I guess directing was like an option until I got to college. I went to Bard College in New York, and my sophomore year there, I was supposed to act in this short play. It was called Being Norwegian. It was like a 45-minute two-person play.
Mhm.
And then I showed up there, and one of the other people who was going to act in it was like, okay, and so Macie's directing the play, and me and this other person are going to act in it. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm directing this play that I didn't know I was going to direct. And I did it, and I really loved it. I kind of faked my way through it, but I really enjoyed it. And then I went on to keep directing through college and realized that that was kind of my favorite part of theater. I liked making it all come together. Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. And then Tracy, I know you have a long relationship with Kevin R. Free, who directed
Really,
this,
really long.
and he also directed Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill. And I just wanted to know a little bit about like the relationship the two of you have and how this show has been different for you from working on
Mm.
Lady Day.
Yeah, we have been friends since 1998. He will argue 99, but he is wrong. Um, and we became friends while we were waiting tables in Manhattan in Times
Mhm.
Square, and became colleagues in one of my earliest. I'm also a playwright. In one of my earliest writing projects, I was writing a solo, and he had worked for the New York Fringe Festival
Mhm.
in many different capacities, had performed there, and had been on different organizational boards there. And he said to me, "Hey, you're submitting your solo show to the Fringe. It's going to get in, and I'm going to direct it." Literally like that. I thought he was crazy. I submitted it. It got in. He directed it, and that began our. That was 2009.
Mhm.
I think. And that began our collaborative relationship. We absolutely have a personal relationship, but we also have a separate but equal professional relationship. And that initial helming, my
Mhm.
first baby out in the world was what kind of solidified us as collaborators. And we work with one another in multiple capacities. He directs things I write, I act in things he writes, all the things.
Mhm. Well, and I don't think we actually got to meet during my time in New York, but we both worked on his fringe show, Night of the Living N-Word, which
Exactly.
you did work for, and I was doing like social media for. So I saw all these videos that you
I
put
was doing
together.
marketing. I was doing
Yeah,
marketing. So we were just working in different capacities.
yeah,
Yeah.
super cool. And then, so for audiences who might remember you from Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, which is also like a play with music. In many ways, it kind of is a one-person show, but you like kind of interact with the band a little more, and you have a band, whereas this is all a cappella. Could you talk a little bit about like what has been different for you on this journey as compared to Lady Day?
Sure. So many things. Um, you would think, oh, it's a solo show. It's the same. Well, the biggest difference about this piece is that this is my introduction to it. I didn't see it when it was in New York. I hadn't read it prior to being cast. I had done Lady Day. When it came to Portland, I had done it, I think, 3 times already with different directors. So uh, I believe I introduced Kevin to the theater, and luckily the theater loved him, and he has been back multiple times since then. And he is the one that invited me onto this project, which has been fantastic. So our working relationship was very different this time than it was that time. He trusted and understood that I had an experience with the story and an understanding of the character that he wasn't privy to, having done productions prior. But he did have his own vision. It was very different. The production here was very different than any I had ever done. It ended up being my favorite, just in terms of where the story went. I will say it was also the first time that a story about a Black woman struggling with being an artist in America. It was the first time that I was directed by a Black person. So the understanding of the story, there was more of a kindred understanding of this person's journey than I had had in previous productions, and not in a way that was detrimental to those productions, but in ways that awakened me when we were working together here. But in that instance, and we had a nice long, a normal rehearsal, I won't call it long, a normal rehearsal process, and it was very collaborative in terms of him reaching back to what I had worked on before, and then putting on top of it all of the new things that he wanted to bring to the production. So that was really wonderful. This go round, with a truncated rehearsal process, a piece that I had no familiarity with, I was like, tell me what to do. Go, I can't help you. So I really depended on him so much more. I depended on him so much more in this process, and had to trust that whatever I didn't get, he had, because there was a lot that I that right up until opening, I was still figuring out, because it was such a fast-paced process.
Oh, for sure. And it's like I think in some ways, in theory, like verse is supposed to be easier to remember because it rhymes kind of, but also I find it so much harder because like if I know the shape of a line but not the rhyme, I'm caught up on like that's not the right word. Like that can't be the right word because it doesn't rhyme. And if it was
Well,
the
that
right
was
word, it would
helpful,
rhyme.
though. I will say, in terms of learning, that was helpful. I know when I'm wrong, because I think, oh, well, the second word is this. What is the word that rhymes with that? What, the rhyme did help. Macie, who helped me learn my lines the first 2 hours ish of each day, was just learning a small section, just Macie and myself by ourselves. She's really good at helping put pictures or thoughts or ideas in my head to connect the thoughts. So because I don't memorize lines. That's a lot of people. How do you memorize? I don't memorize lines. That words mean nothing when they're just on a paper
Mm-hmm.
juxtaposed. I I I don't memorize lines. I learn. I learn lines. I learn what it is I need to say based on what the story is.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I have other actors who help with
Right.
that because they're saying something to me that I hear and process, and even if I don't have the words exactly right, I know what my character is supposed to respond.
Mm-hmm.
With
Mm-hmm.
this, because I don't have that volley, Macie was the person in my head or the person throwing me things so that I could make some sense and connect some dots so that I could learn things that stretch. But I will say, often I'm like, I know what the next word is. I know what the rhyme is, but I don't know what the original word is.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that.
I totally get that. I was really I was so excited and impressed because I've read this show a bunch but have not seen it. And so getting to see you both at the designer run and at opening and see this like intense physicalization as you shifted between the man and the stranger was so exciting to
Oh,
watch, because there are times when you would say like one word, but I would know who was talking, and then you'd switch back the other way, and that was just like so exciting to see. And I feel like I've seen many artists attempt that and few nail it the way that you did.
oh, thank
So
you, Todd.
I want
I
to give
will
you some kudos.
say what was exciting, what is different for audiences that don't know what is different about this production here, well, and during COVID, but even the physical space of Portland Stage is not really exactly what the script asks for and calls for,
Mhm.
because it is more of a town hall, a community gathering. A big proscenium stage with a removed audience isn't ideal for the show. And certainly, there are things that we could have done had COVID not been an issue
Right.
to make it more community-like. But since there had to be that separation, there is a theatricality in this production that doesn't exist on paper and isn't really part of the normal design for the show. But because we're missing that very important element of interaction with the audience, being inside, being a part of the audience, all of those theater things that traditionally happen on a stage became more important to this production.
Mhm.
And shame on me for introducing some of it because it's also more exhausting. I'm like, oh, in the productions where you're in the audience, you just have to touch somebody on their shoulder and say the words. Everyone knows that's who you're imitating, as opposed to finding physicality for all the different characters of the community.
Yeah.
That was a challenge that I loved. But now that I realize, oh, that's not really part of
Mhm.
normal productions of it, I think, oh, I want to do this again so I can take a nap.
I get that. I get that. Um, for those of you who haven't seen the show yet, there is, at the very end of the show, there's a vote. We talk a lot about it during the show, so this isn't a spoiler. But the audience is given an option at the end of the play, whether to absolve the man that Tracy plays for the deal that he's made on behalf of the community, or whether to punish the man um, for the deal that he made on behalf of the community that's gone wrong. And I'm curious about like what that, I know in terms of the language, the ending is very similar for you, whether you
Mhm.
do A or B.
Yeah,
But
it's actually exactly the same. The
I
language.
wonder like emotionally what that has been. And because I know that we've gone both ways now,
Mhm.
even if we're favoring one, but we won't say which. Go enjoy, vote. Um, I would love to hear what that's been like for you.
I definitely, even though after the vote happens, the lines that the man says are exactly the same in either circumstance, it does mean something different
Mhm.
emotionally uh, for me, and I have gotten to actually experience that. Yes. Um, I guess this is. I hope this isn't a spoiler, but the play ends in gratitude. That's why I will say, regardless of what the vote is, the play ends in gratitude. And what I think is wonderful about that, what Donnetta did, was prove that there is always something positive to mine out of every circumstance, right? When the stranger, when the man has gratitude for being punished, the gratitude is about all of the new experience and the knowledge and there was something that happened that changed his life. And although it didn't work out well, if we regretted all of our experiences that didn't work out well, what would our lives be? Right. So he's grateful for the opportunity he had to live ever so briefly in a circumstance that he thought he'd never have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give folks in the chat, if you have any questions that you want answered before we wrap this up, drop those in pretty quick. But Tracy, I wanted to know, is there anything about this experience that like you wish an audience knew that they might not otherwise, just seeing it? Like, is there something that, or like a moment that like really catches in your chest each night in a way that you don't expect?
Yes. There are a few moments. I'd get up early in the mornings during the rehearsal process, and that's when I would work on the script and process before I get to rehearsal. And I'd often make a discovery, and I'd be texting Kevin at 7 a.m. like, oh, this moment, and something that gets me, his final recognition of exactly where he went wrong. The moment that, for me, the man realizes exactly what he did and confesses it, using words he hasn't used before, but have been used on him. I don't want to give those words away. That always is. It's really honest. My experience of that, it always comes really honestly, and because we've all done things, we've all wronged people by accident. Good intentions, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that's kind of what this story is. And so all of my good intentions that I've put out into the world that haven't come to fruition kind of come to me in that moment, as well as in a less like real life, the man thinks he experiences friendship in a real way that he has never before. And that comes out, that's mostly the journey of the play, but there are a couple of moments of vulnerability and admission about what that friendship is or feels like that always, I live in actually Portland is one too. It's a city where you see on a daily basis the outcasts of society. They're on the streets with you, they're outside the stores you shop in. And this play is really about those people, the people that we disregard and don't consider. And I think about it really takes me to that place, how privileged I am, and any of us coming to the theater are, to make a choice about whether we are going to disregard those people. That need and gratitude for a friend, someone who's actually looking me in the eye, someone who's actually hearing what I have to say, and it matters. That every day gets me every show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's a lovely note for us to end on. That's just
Okay.
hits you here.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Tracy, and thank you, Macie, for being here for this discussion. You can still catch Tracy Conyer-Lee in person if you're watching this later. I don't know, but if you're still here in Maine through next Sunday, June 6th, you can catch Tracy live at Portland Stage, and the play will also start streaming this Wednesday and will be available through June 20th to stream. So
see it live so you can vote.
See it live so you can vote. That's important. Voting is important. Also, there's an election coming up here in Portland. So if you're in Portland, there's some elections. Get your vote out. Yeah. Excellent. Thank y'all and have a lovely
Thank
evening.
you, Todd.
Bye, y'all.